Ah. Guys, we're gonna have to
that
review
one.
this. I wanna
We start
cry.
again.
I wanna cry. Anyway, so we'll
Welcome
do
to
this.
technology.
Yeah. Guys, we're gonna do this again. I
Mm.
apologize. We can see a whole lot of comments on the side. People are wondering why this thing hasn't gone live. I pressed the wrong button, and I apologize for that. It's my fault. And I'm asking my team. You know, in any of these things, you must have a producer. My producer's gone MIA on me, guys. So apologies for that. But here we are. Welcome to our conversation, which is focused around the Stokvel that we are launching, and the Stokvel is called the THUDmoney stock franchise Stokvel. And what we are trying to achieve with it is to find a way, an inclusive way of making sure that communities are participating economically in the conversation around entrepreneurship in general. But more importantly, we know that a lot of our people, and especially Black people, we buy from franchises all the time. And we have here a team of people that have had such a great impact in the Stokvel space in running their businesses. And we've said, let's get together. Let's find a way to get together and collaborate on making sure that we drive an inclusive agenda when it comes to getting people owning franchises, number one, and more importantly, beyond owning franchises, to make sure that there's participation in terms of job creation, in terms of suppliers being in local communities participating in the value chain. We are trying to find ways, and we have gone out there and engaged a couple of franchisors. So the big chains that some of you would know out there, and we came out with one that really loved what we had to say, and they could bend to some of the things that we're putting on the table in terms of wanting participation and like meaningful participation, not just a case of collecting money from a Stokvel group and putting it into a franchise and then it ends there. The agenda on our side is to make sure that there's an inclusive agenda. We want to make sure that Black people are participating economically and they're benefiting from this. And instead of complaining about it or trying to find excuses for this, we said we can do something about it ourselves. Why? Because we've got different strengths here. So I am going to introduce some of my team members, my esteemed team members that are doing some really amazing work in the background in making sure that this thing works. One is Palesa Lengolo. She's founder of Lengolo Holdings, and she's in the financial literacy space, and she's been educating Stokvels and cooperatives for quite a while, and she's doing some really amazing work in the finance space. And then we've got Tsepo Moloi, who's founder of Stockfella. Tsepo is doing some really amazing work with the platform Stockfella. So Stockfella is like the bank for Stokvels for us. And because we are going to be focusing on Stokvels and making sure that people are actually able to transact and they can see there's consistency and there's transparency in what is happening with their finances, they need a platform that they can trust. So that is the purpose of Stokfella. And then last but not least, we've got somebody really amazing for us here who's leading us when it comes to this franchising conversation. Her name is Bathabile Moreki. Bathabile is the founder of Tefte. She's a multi-franchisee. She's running a franchise that is turning over 12 million per annum. And she's doing some really amazing work. But Tabile came to me in 2016 and said, Lebu, I want us to do this thing for franchising in townships. And I want us to be able to include people. And it's been an on and off conversation. So we decided, hey, let's actually do something about this because we have the power amongst ourselves. So there's going to be a collaboration of companies that implement this project. And then we are going to be involving a lot of people in the background who are going to make sure that we've got the skills on the table that allow us to be able to execute this thing effectively. I would just like each of my guests to have a quick word before we get into the technicalities. So, Palisa, you can start first. Oh, your mic is off. Yeah.
Is it fine now?
You are new. Yeah.
As you said, my name is Balisa. I'm a founder of Palengo Holdings. I do a lot of financial education and investment education literacy in the space for individuals and Stokvels. Very passionate about Stokvels, so I'm very excited that there's such an initiative right now of a franchise Stokvel that is going to help our economy in some way, especially during this time of where the unemployment is so right. So we are being part of the solution by launching this, and I'm grateful to everybody that is involved. Can't wait for the success of this.
Thank you. Tsepo, you can go next.
All right, thanks, Seleboho. As you introduced me, my name is Tapo, founder and CEO of Stockfella. Very excited as everyone is around the table. I think this is a great time for this initiative, given that where the country is, where unemployment has just risen even before COVID hit us, according to Stats SA release data yesterday. So who else but us to try to make a difference through our country, through our people, making sure that everyone gets a piece of the pie. So yeah, excited. My role in this whole journey is to make sure that what the money goes in for the Stokvel actually does what it needs supposed to do, and then also it comes back to the member from a point of them having their share of the pie accordingly. Yeah.
That's great. But Habile, just a quick intro from your side.
Okay, thank you so much, Lebo. I'm so happy to see this alive because the plan is to open the first franchise store owned by the community by the end of the year. So for me, to be honest, it's a dream come true because I'm very passionate about economic transformation, and now having our own communities, also not being the consumers in the franchising space, but also owning some of the part. It's very exciting. Thank you.
I'm happy to hear that. Guys, thank you so much. I think I've given a bit of the why we're doing this more than anything. So, but Tabila, maybe you can just take us quickly through for somebody who, but Tabila's lost, guys. I want to scream. Technology doing its thing, guys. What we are trying to do here is first get Batabila to just take us through. So, Batabila, you back? Thank you. So, I would like you to take us through the journey of franchising on your side as to what has happened in the space. I mean, we know right now that you're turning over just over 12 million per annum, and beyond that, when you started out, you had to put your house on the market for you to raise the money to buy a franchise. What I would like to hear more than anything right now is how does the world of franchising works so that anybody who's joining the Stokvel and wants to contribute, they're very clear. Like it's they can see, they can relate, and they can see what's happening in that space.
So when you start with a franchise, to be honest, it's a very difficult entry point due to the requirements. And to be honest, the requirements, they don't mean it in a bad way, but it's how they have managed to cap and put some guidelines and assistance to make your business successful. If you could see, the successful rates of the franchise is very high. A lot of
Mm.
franchises, once they start operating, they survive the first 5 years, they even go beyond 10 years. So when you start, the main thing under or out of the requirements is that you must have 50% of your own cash. They normally refer to it as the unencumbered cash. So
Mm.
that's where the tricky part is, because you can get 50% loan from the bank, which you have to pay back the interest. But the 50%, so for example, if the franchise is 2 million, therefore you must have 1 million of your own cash, which does not have any interest on it. Because if you look into the cash flow, once you have too much loan on the business, the cash flow will be under pressure and your business won't survive. So that's how now they've managed to put a cap to that requirement to to have the success rate. So that's the entry point that is very difficult for people to penetrate. So with me, I had to literally sell my house. That's how I could raise my money. I downgraded my car. I took every saving that I had. Like when I opened my first door, I had nothing in my account. I had like zero. But the good thing is that I could get salary from the business from month one. So the return on
Mm.
the investment is very high as well. You could still
Mm.
so you are able to create jobs for yourselves and from the community that you your store is based. It's not only a business that only give opportunity for you, which is something that I loved about the franchise, to say from day one, you have a supporting team. Because if you can look into our small businesses as entrepreneurs, that's what we struggle for. About 5 years, you are alone in the business. And to be honest, we only have 8 hours in a day. So you cannot do so much as one person in the business. Hence, our growth as standalone businesses, they kind of delay. But for me as well, it was the mentorship that comes with this franchise. When I opened my first business, I was not really a seasoned entrepreneur. I was from government, I was working in government, I was a personal assistant. So for me, in terms of your financial management, I was clueless. The risk of the business, I was clueless. But once I got into a partnership with a franchisor, like they taught me so much while I ran a business. So I think that's another great element with the franchising, that you learn or while you run your own business, and the risk of running that business, they are a bit eliminated, because you are partnering with people that have been doing that journey for like quite a long time, who have experience, that they share that with you. A lot of us, we always say, if I knew this 5 years ago, I could have been a better entrepreneur. So I think their service fee, it comes with some benefits that helps you to sustain. And 5 years down the line, I think 2 years in the franchising space, I managed to now have 3 more stores.
Yeah. So the opportunity is very clear, that it's there. And one of the challenges that we are all facing is the fact that it's very expensive to get in. For the average person to even participate in the space, if you don't have a proper job, and by proper job is where you've got a pay slip and you can actually raise money to go and do this thing, that becomes the difficulty more than anything. With that said, Palisa, I would like you, because you deal with a lot of Stokvels and franchises, and you're a chairperson of our other Stokvel, being that the People Stokvel. Like, just the process of our thought process of why it works, or the reasoning for getting into franchising using the Stokvel and cooperative model versus just telling people, guys, raise money, go and buy a franchise. Like, why are we taking this approach? What have you seen from insights on your side?
So what I've seen with Stokvels, you need to be a recognized legal entity. And Stokvels these days are very ambitious, and they want to own businesses, and they want to own the investments that they get involved in. So what most of the time, the challenge would be, how do we do this as just a Stokvel? And us going the cooperative route is saying, here's a legal entity that is recognized just like a company or a PTY, that we can use as a vehicle to be able to access in buying a franchise. So we are going to be buying a franchise via a cooperative. The Stokvel model is for raising the capital, which is something great that has not been used enough, I think, in my opinion, to raise capital to be able to access this, because a lot of them, they stop at, okay, now we have this million. Now, how do we do that? So the next step is going into a legal recognized entity like a cooperative. Why a cooperative works is because a cooperative is exactly like a Stokvel. It's a company or a business that allows a lot of people to be shareholders and be able to participate in the economic activities just like a company, except that now a lot of people are shareholders in it. So there's no limitation in the number. So that makes it much easier to now tap into business opportunities like franchising, when we are now turning from a Stokvel to a cooperative, while at the same time everything almost staying the same. So you're not disturbing the model as per se.
I love what you're saying, right? I think I keep struggling because I'm not a traditional Stokvel person per se. Like, I start things because I see an opportunity. I'm an entrepreneur and I want to participate because I see opportunity, right? Now, some of the things that I've picked up a lot when it comes to Stokvels and not franchising, Stokvels and cooperatives in general, is that people often have a criticism of the fact that because everybody's an equal member of this thing, there's going to be people that drag it down as opposed to participating equally to make sure that we all move forward. Now, how do you work around these things to make sure that you don't have a lag? Like, and as an entrepreneur, as the average entrepreneur, and all of you are here, is a dictator, and dictators want stuff done, because it's all about the bottom line. Now, how does it work? What have you seen from other groups that you are teaching and stuff, like, especially around functioning, like making sure that this thing actually works and everybody's participating in a meaningful way?
So from the word go, to make this really a smooth ride, as per se, is you need to put up a structure in your cooperative or in terms of position. So from the word go, the members or the shareholders will have to set up a board, to vote for a board in place that will be able to run everything. So now it's no more 100 people that are running the organization. It's only maybe the 6 board members that are running, and they have an agreement with the members that we will do this and this for you. Because now if all of us are gonna be in the decision making, it becomes messy when we are a large group. It's better to just set up structure and put positions in place in board, and they appoint now service providers and all other operation that needs to be done. What you as a Stokvel member or a member of a cooperative, your responsibility is almost like just an investor, seeing that everything that the people that you have voted for are actually delivering on whatever they've been tasked to do. So you don't necessarily have to be actively involved because you have set up a structure.
Okay. Now, do we want to reveal at this point what franchise we've chosen, or Bathabile, do you first want to take us through the pros and cons of the different franchise groups? And you don't even have to mention names. Just I want people to kind of get a feel of our thought process as to how we got to the franchise that we're going to introduce, that we're going to be participating in.
Okay, just like maybe as you introduced earlier, to say we had a discussion with different franchisor, and a lot of them, which are very big corporations with their own rules, with their own requirements. And to be honest, it's the first in the country where we're gonna have a cooperative and a Stokvel buying into a franchise. So a lot of franchisors, they don't have a model accommodating such, because a franchise agreement, it only needs 2 directors to sign. They only need franchisees who are present in their businesses to sign the franchise agreement. So there were a whole lot of requirements that our model was not fitting. So fortunately, we had actually one out of many that we've been engaging who was a bit of willing to kind of loosen their rules and accommodate and amend their own laws that they have in their organization. So that's how we came about to settle for that. And it was not only just because they accommodated us, but we also looked into a business model, because when we approached the franchisors, we looked into a viable business, the successful of their establishment, and how their such establishment are run every day. So with the one that we've chosen, we are very confident that apart from them accommodating our request, which is the first in history, which we'll be trialing out, but at least they showed support. Like, they are really involved with us. We communicate with them as we need to, and they respond quickly as well. So they are really, really keen to partner with us, which is another thing to say. When we get into a partnership, we look into people that are willing to partner with us, not just take us as clients.
Yeah. I love that. And I think you had shared with us that the owners of the franchise actually want to participate in the Stokvel itself. They're like, can I also sign up?
Yeah, so I think they're also too excited.
Yeah. Tsepo, just quickly, for the benefit of people that have not utilized the Stokfella platform, this is before we then introduce the mechanics of the actual franchising itself. Just take us through your platform very quickly. Like, how does Stokfella work?
Yeah, no, thanks for the question, though. I think what Stokfella does, in a nutshell, it takes a 19th century industry that has been always written in the book, basically, right? That makes it difficult for everyone around the country to participate in one initiative, right? As this initiative, the franchise Stokvel that we're trying to do, and it digitizes it so that everyone can have access to this book. So you as a member of the Stokvel, you get to know how much contribution has been made, who withdrew the funds, and what are the funds are being used for, more importantly. And the nice thing about it is that also when the funds get paid back, you as a member gets paid back into your own Stokfella wallet. So then you can choose, I want to participate again. In other words, making that money revolve within the Stokvel itself and within the community. Or I want to withdraw it, of course, it's still your choice. So that's what Stokfella does. It just creates the transparency, creates the convenience, as well as creates the security around the whole Stokvel process end to end.
Okay. What I hear more than anything, because I love simplicity in how things are explained, is that the Stokfella app first digitizes Stokvels, and therefore now we don't have to be in the same location for us to see what's going on. That's number one. But more importantly for me, it drives transparency. Everybody can see the money coming in, money going out. I don't have to wait for a report to come. I can actually just log onto the platform and see how much money is in the kitty and how much money has been taken out. Am I explaining it simply enough? And
yeah,
clearly?
100%. I think I should hire you. Hey, it's much simpler than me.
I charge consulting fees, my guy. I'm the simple guy. All right. So what I would like Bathabile to take us through now, and Tepo, then I'll come to you afterwards, especially around the process flow, is the franchise that we've chosen. Just take us through that, Bathabile, and what's the value proposition for it?
So can I also share the name?
Oh yeah, you can. You can. People want to know.
Okay, guys, I'm so happy to share with you. We'll be taking the Jimmy's franchise, the one with the red branding. The corporate color is red, just like the hookup dinner corporate colors and the Stokvel. Yes, guys. So we'll be taking the Jimmy's Express, and if you can check their menus, they really talk to us because we are looking to set up in one of the townships. Their menus include the quarters, grilled chicken. So it's menu that our communities are familiar with, and it's menus that are also affordable, because the other thing we really need to sell something that is affordable to our own communities. So yes, that's the Jimmy's franchise. So with the return on investment, as we have said, we will be buying the store cash. So we will not be taking any loans, which will help us a lot, because remember, each and every financial loan, you need to make repayments on an interest. So we'll be saving a lot, which is number one. And number two, we will now be able as a collective group to access a franchising outlet, because as I shared, a lot of us, we don't get into this franchising because of the 50% unencumbered cash. So collectively, as 100 of us, we will have that unencumbered cash. So
I think that's the most exciting part for me, that I don't have to take out a loan for this thing to happen,
No.
So I'm trying to understand. I mean, we've had a lot of back and forth for ourselves around why we've chosen Jimmy's. A big part of what I would like us to stretch is the fact that we're trying to choose a franchise or the type of eatery that the type of food that is in there is quite easy for the communities that we're going to jump into. For instance, with the other franchise that you own, it's in Olivenholt, right? It's in a township area. Now with Jimmy's, what is the strong point here? Why do we think there's a business case for it in a township?
In the township, as I've said, it's the menu relates to us as the community in the township.
Yeah.
You know, we are all familiar with chicken. We love quarters, we love fish. You know, so at least their menus resonate a lot with our culture and our lifestyle. And again, it's one of the outlets that they are also growing in terms of their delivery system since the COVID-19. So it will also still give us a better service. And if you can look at their prices on their menu, they are very reasonable. You get a quarter chicken and chips for 29.90. You know, so it's all that we needed to understand, to say it also need to fit into our profiles.
How much do we need to contribute, guys, and why? Like, how's this gonna work? How much is a Jimmy's franchise?
All the setup costs, including all professional services, construction, branding, uniform, all expenses, is estimated at 1.5 million, including VAT.
Okay. So what does that mean practically? Tsepo, do you want to take us through that as to how many people are we involving in the first Stokvel? Yeah, just take us through a bit of that process.
No, super. No problem, Lebo. I think we touched on it nicely in the intro in terms of the structure, So I think let's think about money moving, because I'm a money numbers man, So arguably, you as an individual, you would take out money into a group of pool, which is in this case, it's a Stokvel. And then from that amount of money, would incorporate to capitalize the co-op, as Balisa touched on. All right. So that's the second part of the money moving to the co-op. And then that money will move from the co-op to the franchise itself to capitalize it fully, so that it can do all the things that Batabile has noted, right? And then from there on, the returns of that money now moves back to the co-op, right? Which then the co-op pays back its members, and the member can decide they want to re-participate or not. So if now we're understanding the money movement, the first question is then, okay, what is that money that we're moving into? All right. So we are looked at to say, okay, we want first 100 founding members to participate in this. And if we say first 100 founding members, if you just take 1.5 million divided by 100 people, that just tells you that we need 15,000 Rand per person to participate in this, per individual or per Stokvel itself. I think Palisa will talk to how people can participate in more detail, right? So that's what we need, 15,000 Rand coming in for the first 100 people. And then that 50,000 Rand is what we'll use as the 1.5, as Batabile has noted, to capitalize the whole entire process.
Sorry, I muted myself there. So if I understand this correctly, you're saying it's 100 people that will join in the Stokvel, and each person is going to contribute 15,000 Rand. And that 15,000 Rand can be broken down over the period of time that this money needs to be collected in, right?
Correct. Yeah. So not touching on that period of time, basically, because we all know that we might not have 15,000 Rand on the spot, or you might have, which is great. So what is that time period that we're looking at? Right. So if you look at it from the time period, and that Batabile has noted that we actually want to get this franchise up and running in December, we're looking at about a plus minus five to 6 months period. So if you take 15,000 Rand divided by 6 months, you're looking at about 2.5 thousand Rand a month. Plus some joining fee, of course, to cover some of the transaction costs that will be happening in order to get us up and running very quickly. So that's what we're looking at, right? So every month, starting end of this month, beginning of 1st of July, we need to contribute an amount, joining fee plus the 2.5 to get us to the output that we want.
Sorry. For the benefit of those who are watching, there is a presentation that is going to be shared on emails. This is for the people that have signed up, that want to participate in the Stokvel. So there is a presentation that you will get. Unfortunately, I've been trying, and I don't know how to do the presentation here, so that as we speak through the points that we're speaking through, you guys can actually see visually what we are talking about. But if you are signed up to the database, you're going to be getting a copy of both the link to this video that we're watching, so that you can re-watch for yourself. And then secondly, you will get the actual presentation on email, just so that you can kind of go through it and share it with your Stokvel group and how this thing will function. Very critical. Tsepo, I think what I would like you to take us through just very quickly, and I know that we've been touching on it here and there, whatever. It's the timelines, the project timelines. And I think this is so critical right now, because people need to understand that starting now, up until, I think it's November. Am I correct, guys?
Yeah, it's November, end of November.
What needs to happen, Yeah.
Okay, no, it's quite simple, right? So I think starting from now, so from the 1st of July, basically, right, that is when we start contributions, meaning that you pay your joining fee and your first contribution, right? And then we have until end of November in order for us to capitalize the Stokvel. Of course, we have checkpoints along the way For example, the first checkpoint is within the 4 months period, right? So the first 4 months, we need to have reached a certain amount, right? So we're estimating to say by the first 4 months, we should have reached at least a half, if not a million, of what we are trying to achieve, because then we know that we are in the right direction, right? Then the next 2 months, basically, what we're going to do as a team is to make sure that we don't fall behind and things run parallel. We'll incorporate a co-op in the next 2 months after that, and we'll also start with the franchise building because we'll have the capital in already. So those two things will run parallel together. By the time the co-op is incorporated, the idea is that the franchise can kick in and start. So that's what we've sort of mapped out, right? And then from December, 1st of December, the franchise will start operating. We've given the franchise itself 6 months to stabilize as a business because we understand there'll be learnings in there. Yes, we have a seasonal professional like Batabile, but because of end of the day, it's a new business, there will be learnings that we all will need to learn and make sure that everything gets smoothed out. So in that first 6 months, we are stabilizing the franchise itself. After that 6 months, based on our estimations, we believe we'll be able to pay the first portion of the capital back to the to the co-op, which will then it will pay back to the member itself. So arguably the first payment of your portion of your capital will be within the 12 to 13 months period, starting from the 1st of July. So that's what you're looking at. And thereafter, for the next 18 months, as the franchise is functioning, we'll pay back the entire capital that you put in. So the entire 15,000 Rand will come back to you. And then post that, it will be just royalties, as they would put in the franchise language to say, the next 2 to 3 years upwards, it'll be royalties up until we decide that we've sweat this equity so much that let us sell the equity, and the co-op will make the decision when it's time to sell the equity, which is the franchise itself. I trust I've covered it.
Okay. How much do I need to contribute today, or like when? What is the minimum to participate, and when do we start?
I don't know if Palesa want to take that question.
Yes. Yeah. So a lot of Stokvels and individuals have been really looking forward to this. I know I get a lot of Twitter messages like today, they were all over. Stokvels wants to own this. So it's a very minimum amount, 15,000 per person once off, or 2.5 per month, but we're taking the first 100 fully funded founders to the cooperative stage. So for Stokvels, you can we're gonna take chairpersons as a representative for your Stokvel to be able to raise that, to represent the whole Stokvel as a member. So you can join as a Stokvel or as an individual, 15,000 or 2.5 per month. So from experience, I already know 15,000 is nothing specifically for Stokvels. I would say they wouldn't even do the per month thing. They must just join via the 15,000 as soon as possible. We are taking contributions from the 1st of July. And for the progression of this, since we are running the deadline of the store being open by December, we will be taking the serious people only. So the first serious fully funded people are the ones that are going to own a franchise store.
Okay. On my side, I think what I would like to highlight is that because this is the first store that we're raising for, we're going to limit the Stokvel group to 100 people, and that's a very strict thing. And it will be a first come, first serve as to who participates in this. And it's important that people understand that for us, like, we are putting our necks on the line, just like we've done with all other projects that we've launched before this. I mean, we did the same thing when we did the People's Fund. We put our necks on the line, and when you're handling people's money, you want to go the extra mile in ensuring that you're not messing up. So the first 100 people that join to own the first franchise, that's where we are going to cut it off. And then if you happen to be number 101 or 107, we're going to open a secondary group, but we will only advise as to when that will launch as we know what is happening with. So our first one is about ensuring that it's a trial one and things must work. Like, this is where the learnings are going to come out of more than anything else. anything that you guys want to add to that a bit? Or did I explain it thoroughly?
Yeah, I'll just add to say, sometimes it might look as if 15,000 is a lot, but if you will wanna own your own Jimmy's franchise, you will have to have 750,000 of your own and 750,000 that you may, if you wish, to loan it from the bank. So put that scenario in front of you and check to say, you know what, just try to sacrifice 15,000 for a longer return on investment, because it's an investment over 5 years. And within that 5 years, you will be getting your capital back and your return on investment. And furthermore, on the 5th year, the cooperative can decide whether they want to sell the store. So by selling the store, you will also get more money or continue with the store for another 5 years to 10 years. I've seen stores lasting 20 years. I'll make an example. There's Debones in Medium Use in Midrand. It's been changing hands. It's the 20th year this year. So the such asset, they last longer. So imagine your 15,000 going so long to the 20. Even if you've got a child today, your child can be part of this in the next 20 years. So it might look as if it's a lot, but to be honest, it's quite a minimal. It's the lowest that anybody could think of at this point. We've never seen anybody owning a franchise who have contributed 15,000. So I'm trying to encourage people to say, you know what, sometimes let's try to sacrifice just for 6 months and contribute and get returns for a very longer period.
Okay. Let's address some of the questions that are popping up. I'm loving that we're getting so much engagement. So one comes from, I'm going to apologize for not being able to pronounce your name correctly, because I think it's Ziona. I'm hoping that I've pronounced that correctly. And her first question here is, please can you elaborate on where the sign-up process is? So I'll give that one to Tsepo, right? Just note it Tsepo for now. Or rather, they're saying, what is the sign-up process? And then the next one that comes up is, where will the first store be located? But Tabile, I'm going to give that one to you. Please note that, ne?
Which one?
And then where will the first store be located? So it's you explaining how we'll go about using a store, right?
Okay.
And then the next one that pops up is passion and purpose. I believe we can, okay, no, that's a statement. Oh, the next question that pops up is, what is the projected ROI, right? I think, Batabile, you've explained a little bit, so maybe just address it in case there's some missing gaps there. And then let's address those first, and then we'll follow with the rest of the questions that come up.
Yeah, so I'll kick it off. What's the sign-up process, basically, all right? So after this presentation, if you already had received an email notification, you'd have seen there was a link there to an application onboarding form. You have to complete that onboarding form, and when you complete that onboarding form, we as Stokfella then will add you to the Stokvel group. So we're going to create a Stokvel group in the background that has all these rules to make sure that the Stokvel functions properly. And then once we've received everyone's confirmation, or should I say application form, we're going to do a bulk adding of all these members to this one big group. I'm assuming it'll be more than 100 people coming in. So we want to do it all once off over a night period. So likely Friday or over this coming weekend. That's when we'll do it. And then you will receive a notification once we've onboarded you to the Stokvel group. In that notification, there will be a link to sign up on Stokfella, which will take you directly to your group, which in this instance is a THUDmoney franchise Stokvel that you'll be part of. And in there, basically, then you can view the constitution of the Stokvel. You can then make payments directly. So that's the next step. So to say, okay, I've got 15,000 in right now, I'm going to make payments. So you click pay and you follow the process accordingly to make payment. You can make payments in multiple ways, EFT, card, cash. It's all up to you how you want to do the payment. And then once you've done the payment, basically, the minimum payment come the 1st of July is 3,000 Rand, which is your joining fee plus the 2,500 Rand.
Okay, well explained. In fact, I've just put up the question about the joining fee. What is the joining fee and how much is that? Somebody else on top asked that what if I can't afford the sign-up fee, which is the 15,000 rand. Guys, I would like us to be very clear on something here. We are running on tight deadlines in terms of what needs to be achieved, and therefore, in this trial one, we've got to get it right first time around. And what we are going to do is that those that can afford, those are the people that must participate. If you can't afford, you will be on the waiting list for the next Stokvel that will be launched in the future, right? For the next franchise or whatever. But for this one, it is very important that we've got people that have the capital, and a lot of them are groups. So for instance, you will say to me, I don't have 15,000 rand alone, but within your family or within your groups of friends, together, you can actually raise that 15,000 rand, and then you can be the person that represents your group in the Stokvel that joins this. So this is not necessarily, a lot of the people that are going to join, that are joining here are groups of people, but they're being represented by one individual. So when we count 100, it's not really 100. It's a representative. Each of these people are representing their own Stokvel group or whatever. And it's very important to understand that. Don't feel like, where am I going to get 15,000? Maybe what you need to contribute within your group is 1,000 rand, and maybe there's 15 of you, and together there's 15,000 rand. But you must have a contract together and a constitution amongst yourselves that governs that relationship so that you can hold each other accountable. On our side, we will hold the person that is in the group accountable. That will be the member that has the voting right. So that person will be representing you in whatever voting that happens within the Stokvel and the cooperative itself once it's set up. That is one. And then secondly, this country has got its own rules when it comes to cooperative governance, right? When you form a co-op, which becomes a legal entity, one of the things that are required is for you to have a membership fee. So we are raising this 15,000 rand to buy the franchise, right? And part of those franchise fees, part of the fees that come out of that 15,000 rand are going to be for the people that are actually going to be to make sure that this thing runs. But the 500 rand that you join as a joining fee, that goes towards setting up of the co-op itself, because that is the rules of what needs to happen once you decide to set up a cooperative for yourself. I hope that I'm making sense around that. And then there's other questions here that I want to pop up. Which ones have we all answered? The ones that I had shown before, guys?
Yeah, but you need to, but we need to answer. I think she had a question on her side as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it was around the location. So the beautiful part about this Stokvel is the community Stokvel. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be sharing the requirements of a location so that the community can also assist us to find the best location. There are standards to say we need a space in, easy access to this and that, and it must be, for example, 120 square meters. It must have this infrastructure. So we will be sharing that in the next week, where the communities from anywhere, guys, in South Africa, whether it's in Mafikeng, it's in Soweto, it's in Tembisa, anyway, so that we can have the best location, because some of the location in the communities know it better. You don't even have to be a member yet of the Stokvel to give us an input. So we will share such so that we can find the best suitable location for the project. Okay. And the franchisor, Jimmy's, will also send a team who will come and assess the location. They need to see the business viability of the site. So at least we have a team of experts who are dealing with site selection all the time. So they will also know which site to help us select. So it's going to be a very exciting involvement of the community at large.
That's great. Somebody's asking here, are banking details going to be emailed to us? Yes. So in the presentation that will be shared, all the details will be in there. We are aware that not everything can be presented quite clearly in a discussion, but there will be a document that covers this, plus the copy, plus the link of this video that you're watching now, so that you can share with the people that you're going to be engaging in. Nontobego, I think we've already answered yours, where you said, what happens if I'm serious, but I don't have 15K, but can work on 2.5 a month? 2.5 a month is perfect. That's the minimum that is required. For the first month, it's 3,000 because of the 500 rand registration fee that is required as well. But beyond that, we are collecting 2.5 a month to make up the 15K. So definitely flexibility is available around that. And then Purpose and Passion asked, is it 2.5 for 6 months or is it 15,000 once off? If you can pay the 15,000 Rand once off, it's even better. It's even much, much better because you are helping us to free up the cash flow that is required. There are some requirements upfront on our side. Once you engage the franchisers, there are fees that need to be paid up. So, for instance, with Jimmy's, there's a 75,000 Rand franchise fee that needs to be paid upfront for engagement. So all of this is going to come from the contributions that we will make. And by the way, ourselves, the four of us, are also part of the Stokvel. So it's not like we are recruiting people because, hey guys, give us money. We are also going to participate. And the beauty here is that everybody is an equal member in a Stokvel as well as in a cooperative. So there's nobody who's higher than the other or whatnot. The other thing that you are going to see in the presentation is the format of how we are going to run. So once the cooperative is set up, there's a separate consortium company that is going to serve. It's almost like the administration arm of this because people are participating mostly as investors into this. And we are hoping that people are going to put their hands up and say, I want to participate actively in this. I don't want to just put money in, but I've got my skills, I've got this, I know this. And then it's going to help us even better in terms of effectively managing the cooperative itself because it becomes an opportunity base. The first money that is collected is for the first franchise, but just like with any organization, there's multiple opportunities. So that same cooperative can raise money to buy a second franchise and. But it's going to require skills, it's going to require people, it's going to require dedication and commitment. And that will come from you. So we're not expecting that you are just going to participate with your money only. We are hoping that you're going to raise your hand up and you show the commitment that is required. It's a community collaborative model that we run here. It's not about collecting money only. We also require hands on deck if you have those hands. But there is a team that has been set up for the implementation to make sure that things run smoothly and also to make sure that we are protecting the capital that has been put in. So this is where we are putting our necks on the line for the collective gain of everybody else. All right. And then there's a next question that has popped up. I'll start here. First one is, I got the email, but there's no link to join. Can you please share the link? So we will definitely share that process with the next email that is going to come out as to what happens next for you to actually get onto the Stokfella platform, right? And Tsepo, I think, has already given us a quick breakdown around that. And then the next one that pops up is, will you be sending on? Oh, it's exactly the same thing. So guys, team, I hope you can see that there's a lot of urgency around the sign up, the onboarding process. People are ready for that onboarding thing. And then the next one is, who is going to run the franchise? Will we hire within the Stokvel group? Very good question, but Tabile is going to take that one. And then the next one that comes up, I think this one has been dealt with. There was an ROI question. Ntokozo is saying around the return on investment. And I think Batabile is apt to answer this one because she's already running a few franchises herself. Batabile, I hope I'm not overloading you, Shem. The next one that comes up is, my apologies if I missed this, but will the Jimmy's new franchise site be in Gauteng? And so where we are right now, what the franchise owner requires of us is to be active in the first franchise, as in us, the people who are setting this thing up, this team that you are seeing here, we must be there. And majority of us are in Gauteng. So our thinking here, and we are open to suggestions and recommendations, our thinking is that the first franchise store should be in Gauteng so that we can be able to drive to the store and take turns in making sure that the everyday running of this thing is smooth and we can be able to report back on what is happening. But beyond that, the second store, we are able to look at sites beyond Gauteng because now we would have team members within the cooperative who have the skill set. If, for instance, you are in Mafikeng and you happen to have the skill set, you happen to be a part of this thing and you're part of the committee, then why can't you participate in making sure in the day-to-day runnings of the franchise store to make sure that things are running smooth? A critical component of this for us is skills. There must be a skills match. We don't want somebody to just put their hand up because they can. We want the right skills for the right function so that we can execute effectively. Why? Because we're handling people's money. It's a very critical thing to deal with here. And then the next question that pops up here is the projected ROI question has not been answered. So I think somebody in the team must just take that one again. Who's going to take it? Palisa, are you keen? I think
I think on the presentation there's exact amounts of what's the return of investment. I think the most important thing to note is the fact that after 6 months of operation of the franchise store, you'll get at least half of your initial capital. Then another after a year, you get part of your initial capital, and then after that, 2 years and going forward is now only now only profits that will be coming back to you. So we have detailed it correctly in terms of the exact amount, and we specifically went for the amount so that you can see when you put in 15,000 on top of that, what will you will be getting back on top of your capital, and not percentages. I think people are looking for a percentage at the moment, but you'll get that in the thing. But it's definitely more than 8% of a bank.
And also, we are going to invite the franchisor to come and have a session with us, a public session, so that there can be transparency around the process flow, right? And then there's a question here that says, what happens if you are unable to raise the 1.5 million? Will members get refunded, or will you extend the time and contributions required? So we have set a deadline and said, we need to have achieved X by November. If that doesn't happen, we must...
Absent. Kopa phone le papa or I'm 5 minutes now.
Oh, I just muted myself there.
Sorry.
Yeah, so we will definitely do a refund, and this will be minus the 500 Rand registration fee. Why? Because the registration fee goes towards all the activities that are taking place right now. Nobody can fund this out of their own pocket. It must be funded by the collective. The process flow of engaging of everything, like from the administration fund. So that's part of what, and the banking fees. That's what covers the admin requirements, right? But the money that we are collecting, the 1.5 million, if we are not able to reach our target by the set date, there definitely must be a refund. And what's beautiful here is that people will get to see what is happening, because in the Stokfella group, once you sign up on, I encourage you that you download the Stokfella app so that you can see how it works. We get in our other Stokvel, the People Stokvel, we get daily notifications of who has put money in and who hasn't put money in as yet. So you know exactly what's going on at any given time. And if you don't get the notifications, you can actually sign up onto the app and go and check for yourself and say, okay, in the kitty, what we currently have right now is 800,000. And we are left with 700,000 right to reach our target. So you will get to see on a daily basis how much is in and how much is left, what is happening with that money. It's a constitution that governs all of us, and we must be able to report to that. So that's the beauty I love about the transparency of Tshepo's platform. The fact that you can see everything that is going on without having to pick up the phone and call somebody. That is a very important thing for us. So I hope I have addressed that question, right? And then the other question that was asked here is that what other types of franchises will we be exploring in the future? I'd like to take this one as well. For now, like we've explained before when Batabile started, was that, look, we are choosing Jimmy's franchise because they're the most open to our proposal of how we would like to do things, right? A big part for us is not just in helping people participate economically in buying into franchises, right? It's also to make sure that we can help small Black-owned businesses in townships to participate in the value chain. And Jimmy's has shown some leniency towards that and saying, look, we are willing to walk the journey with you in finding ways of making sure that local suppliers in communities can actually participate in supplying this. And then as for the future is endless. We are looking at pick and pays. We are looking at retail stores. We are looking at other types of franchises, but we would like to stick within the retail space, as in the food types of franchises, because we understand that space. Why? Because our champion being Batabile, she's already got a proven model. She's making money in that space. She understands how the game operates. So we would like to work with things that work, as opposed to just jumping into exploring. We can't explore too much with Stokvels. We want to do things that work, but execute effectively. I hope that makes sense for you. What was the next question that was meant to be answered? Okay, so Ziona is saying, I agree with your statement. First store should be in Gauteng so that we are all hands-on. And then she's saying, would you need members CVs to establish skills? Most definitely. Please do drop us an email at info@thud.africa. We will share that in the presentation. it would be a beautiful thing. The next up, it says, I didn't get the email. Can I humbly request that I can send an email, please? I'm very interested. Okay, we're definitely going to share a sign up link, Connie. You will get the link for sign up. The next one that is asked is, what is the name of the Stokvel on the Stokfella app? Tsepo, please advise us if the name has already been set up, or they're going to get it in the next email that comes out.
Yeah, so I think in the next email out, there will be an onboarding form that will have the name of the stock file, right? So at the present moment, we are saying the name of the stock file. It's called THUDmoney franchise stock file, right? It's not up yet because we just wanted to make sure that everyone is on board. And once everyone has completed the form that they will get via the email, then we'll use that to set up the franchise and onboard everyone. So even if people can sign up, which is great, they can sign up on stockfella.com and go through the process, but they were able not to find the franchise stock file yet. The THUDmoney franchise stock file to be specific, because we want to do it as a bulk once-off approach, not a one by one, because end of the day, we're setting up processes and systems so that we move all as a unit once off going forward. So so it's not on Stokfella yet, but you can sign up on Stokfella. You can see how it works like. You can see what tools you have there to use. If you do get challenges, you're welcome to email us at info@stockfella.com or drop us a WhatsApp line or call our office. The team is ready and willing to help.
Yeah, and I think the beauty here is that even with your current Stokvel that you are currently running, if you haven't heard of Stokfella before, please sign up. It really helps because you are then able to move everybody with you. They get to understand the importance of using the digital streams that we have in technology and making sure that we move forward. All that we are doing is digitizing.
Sorry to cut you there, Lebo. I mean, if you allow me there, I think you touched on a very important point around the 15,000 Rand. If you can't afford your 15,000 Rand as an individual, you can pull your family together and contribute towards the 15,000 Rand. That pulling of the family can still happen on Stokfella. So you can call yourself Selebogo one franchise, and then you then contribute as a family 100 Rand a month. If there's 15 of you, then it becomes 15. Or should I say, if there's 15 of you, you put 1,000 Rand, and it becomes 15,000 Rand a month, which then you as the representative can then pay directly to the franchise. THUDmoney franchise Stokvel on Stokvel itself, so you don't need to collecting cash from your family members. So you could still do that portion of raising on Stokvel itself as well.
No, that's beautiful, guys. I would like to wrap it up for today. People's data is expensive, and then I would like to also just urge you to go through the documentation that we are going to send you. A lot of you receive these emails and then they go either into your promotions folder or your spam. We will flood you with information. We would rather over communicate than under communicate. And what is helpful for us is for you to throw questions, poke holes at this thing so that we can constantly think about the different angles that we haven't quite figured out for ourselves. It's very important. And VQ, you've been a gem, man, in our networks, and you signing up to another one of our Stokvels is an amazing show of commitment into what we are trying to do in moving forward. And I'm hoping that you can help us gather a team for Cape Town that can set up the next franchise over there. Who knows what can happen? I mean,
Hi,
here. Yeah.
I'm waving, ne?
Yes.
I think we just need to address the return on investment question because I've seen it popping up a lot. Ne? So with the package that will come, it will also attach for all the members that have signed up. You're going to get a package that will also include the financial forecast of the business. So you'll know exactly what's the turnover predictions. And at the moment, for the 5 years, it gets to about over 20 million. That's the turnover before you pay for your stock, your royalties, before you pay your staff and so that at least people have an idea how much the 15,000 per person can actually now make up to at the end of the 5 years. And remember, at the end of the 5 years, the store value, if we are setting up at, let's say, 1.5 million, it will also be much more than the 1.5 million. But everything will be shared on the as a pack.
Well, I hope that answers the question. I also saw a lot of return on investment, and I think people will be very happy to see the exact amounts that they will be getting out of their 15,000. I think the most favorite part for me is the fact that you're first gonna get your capital back, so what you initially invested, and then the returns. In it, I think it's a great opportunity, specifically for Stokvels. We always crying that Stokvels don't own anything and they're not creating wealth. So if you're not in a Stokvel, they've already given you such a good idea. Create your own little one and raise the 15,000 and be part of the ownership movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, I'd like
And
to
we'll
thank
be
you.
sharing the reports every quarterly, I think, on the
Yeah.
financial performance of the business.
Yeah. Yeah. We're probably going to have another session next week. We'll just need to decide with the team what is the best day, and then we'll try and communicate ahead of time. Just a repeat so that people are pretty clear on what we are trying to achieve here, and we'll probably have even more answers. We're going to take up all the questions that have been put up here. We're going to have a quick group huddle and make sure that we are addressing them accordingly. Thank you so much, guys, for participating in this. Thank you for taking the time out. We know that it's not often an easy thing to take time out for anything, and for you to be showing this much commitment to this, it's giving us the confidence that we are on the right track, we're doing something right, and we must make sure that we execute effectively and efficiently. And if you have skills in this space and you feel like you want to participate once you have joined this movement, we are more than willing to engage you. It's not about us, it's about the collective, and we have learned this through all the other Stokvels that we've set up, that it's not about an individual. We've got to move each other forward collectively, otherwise we're not going to see this economic freedom in our lifetime that we all keep talking about. I'd like to thank you, and we'll end it there for today. Have a great one. Thank you guys for participating.
Thank you.
Thanks. Cheers. Cheers, everyone.